Hello, this is how to install Claude Code with DeepSeek on Ubuntu 26.04. I am using the DeepSeek online LLMs because I want a lower price. I actually program for the KD community for a couple of hours per week, and this allows me to use $2 US dollars for maybe a month. So let's see how we get to this tutorial. This is my wiki page and mariusp.github.io, the link below, and then 2 hours. And then in here, go to Claude Code plus DeepSeek. We will need an online account. We are going to use an online LLM. If you don't yet have a DeepSeek account, click on sign up to create it. Enter in here your email address, password, and then send code. A email will be sent with a code. You enter it here, and then you press sign up. After your account has been created, you can log in. You don't need any credits to use the chat because the chat is free. So this button, chat for free, in the left-hand side toolbar. It asks for authentication again. This is how the online chat experience looks like. Again, the chat is free, but using Claude Code with DeepSeek will actually use money. For this purpose, we're going to add money to the DeepSeek account using this button, top up. And in here, I have selected the PayPal option. I have selected a very low amount, which is $2 US. And at this point, I want to install on this computer Claude Code, and I want to configure Claude Code to use the online DeepSeek LLM. For this, I'm going to actually use the DeepSeek online chat. And let's see if it knows the correct instructions to use. It doesn't really know anything about me, so it prefers to use the Chinese language. So how can I configure Claude Code to use DeepSeek? It will answer in Chinese because we don't yet have a session. So let's switch to English for the duration of this session, chat session. So I say I do not know Chinese and I want to use English. I do not know the Chinese language. Please use English when talking to me. Okay, I didn't really specify that I want to install Claude Code on Ubuntu 26.04, which I probably should have. So I do want to install Claude Code, and then I want to configure Claude Code to use DeepSeek. I do not want to set various environment variables. I do not want to edit my bash RC. I do not want to use a switcher tool, a proxy that will switch as needed between LLMs, maybe a local LLM, maybe the Anthropic LLMs. I just want the simplest configuration ever, which is for the settings.json file inside a hidden tilde/.claude directory. I always want to use the DeepSeek LLMs. So I'm not even sure what these instructions tell me to do. Let's see if it knows how to install Claude Code. So curl bash, which I don't know what it does. There's the alternative of using a deb repository. And then there's a snap. Yeah, I'm going to go with probably the default option, which seems to not require sudo. Let's see if that's the case. On Google, I searched for Claude Code. There's multiple pages. Download for Linux. Let's see what this button does. There's Claude Desktop. I do not want to install any desktop app. I just want to install the text user interface experience. Inside the terminal, I want to start Claude, and that's it. So it prefers apt deb repository and installs Claude Desktop. I have selected the read the documentation link, and then we're at native install recommended, Linux, and then this curl bash incantation. Let's start a terminal. And run the command line. If it installs just inside my home directory, then that's an experience that's okay with me. I would want to install on my operating system such that it's extremely easy to clean purge, uninstall. Probably the safest bet would be Snap in this regard. Then probably the official apt-deb repository from Anthropic. But if it just is installed inside ~/.local with configuration files in ~/.code, then that's also probably easy to uninstall. Okay, so let's see where we are. We have Claude Code. We don't have a LLM yet. We're not using any Anthropic account. Next up, we need a API key from the DeepSeek online LLM. On the top left button, API keys, you press the button create new key. I have named mine CC from Claude Code. This key, this string is important. You should write it down because after you create the API key, you will not have access to the correct text of the API key. And then we should edit Claude Code settings.json. Okay, let's talk to the DeepSeek chat. I have installed Claude Code on Ubuntu 26.04. I want to just edit this file. Such that Claude Code uses DeepSeek. It always suggests a different content from the configuration file ~/.claude/settings.json, the DeepSeek chat. Let's see what its version of the file right now. So Anthropic base URL is correct. Anthropic AUTH token is correct. Anthropic model, DeepSeek reasoner probably is the more expensive one, I'm going to guess. Small fast model, I didn't even know that there's such a JSON value in here, Anthropic small fast model. I only knew about Anthropic default haiku model. Oh, it says if you want to use the reasoner. Okay, otherwise, small fast model. I know, I don't have any experience with a syntax like this for the JSON file. Maybe it works. Maybe it's a simplification from the previous version where you specified the 3 levels of LLMs from Anthropic, Opus, Sonnet, and Haiku. Now, maybe they have just model and small fast model. Okay, I'm going to still trust the version that I have used previously, not the version from the DeepSeek chat. So let's edit this file. Is it? Seems that the file doesn't yet exist. So let's just put this content there. Trailing new line. And we'll need to populate with our API key in here. So hopefully we have configured Claude Code correctly. Let's actually test that, and let's actually give it a harder task and see the cost savings. So we're going to create a temporary directory where we're going to work. I have installed Visual Studio Code from the Snap stores, from Snapcraft. So Visual Studio Code. Let's open Visual Studio Code in the current directory. The directory is empty for now. I don't need any fancy feature from Visual Studio Code. I'm not installing any support for any programming language. I'm not using any LLMs or Codepilot or any other extensions that Visual Studio would want me to install when I open a code base in Visual Studio Code. I'm mostly interested in the Visual Studio Code terminal and the code navigation and code search, replacing files, etc. Other basic features that come pre-installed in Visual Studio Code. Okay, let's start Claude for the first time. This is the first run wizard. Let's see what it says. So do I want dark mode? I press enter. I should pay attention to the output of Claude Code and the actions Claude Code performs on my computer. I'm using the recommended settings for the terminal. I trust the current directory. And I can already see in the banner part of Claude Code that we're using DeepSeek -chat, which is what we want. We want the normal DeepSeek model, the one that's not more expensive, which is DeepSeek -v4 -flash or DeepSeek -chat. Meanwhile, Claude Code has seen that it's running inside the terminal inside Visual Studio Code, has installed a Visual Studio Code extension, which is this one, which then allows it to see the file that I have currently opened in the editor tab inside Visual Studio Code, the selected text that I have inside the text editor in Visual Studio Code, It's also going to show me previews of the files that Claude Code wants to generate inside the editor and inside the viewer, inside Visual Studio Code. So the fact that it installs this Visual Studio Code extension is okay. Okay, I want to confirm yet again that we're not using any LLM from Anthropic because I don't have any Anthropic account or any way of using those. No stats. We're using the correct URL, the correct model. So hopefully everything will just work. Let's have the LLM do the minimal possible interaction with me. I'm going to ask via chat, please salute me. This is kind of like a hello world that I use with LLMs. So what does it say? Emoji, colored emoji, salutations. Okay. Agent Claude Code. I'm not sure if this text was created by the LLM or by Claude Code. Let's see if we have Control O. The user is asking to salute them. This is a simple greeting response request. I can see it using the online model DeepSeek -v4 Flash. Control O again. And at this point, I'm going to give it a really complicated task. I want it to create a Tetris application that uses Qt Framework's QML. So I'm going to tell it the operating system that we have. Okay, Qt Framework and QML is installed using dep official packages from Ubuntu into the directory /usr. Okay, so I'm telling it we are on Ubuntu 26.04 computer. It needs to know where to find the .so files, the fact that we want .so files, not DLL files, we're not on Windows, where to find those inside /usr. Maybe it will figure out that there's a package kit, that there's CMake pre-installed, that there are CMake config snippets. Okay. You should probably not use please. Create a Tetris game clone app using QML. So I want a QML application. I'm not exactly sure if it's going to create a QML only application in the sense that the backend business logic will be JavaScript inside .qml files, or if it's going to create a dual application with front-end QML only and backend C++ only. We'll see. So again, the prompt, we are on an Ubuntu 26.04 computer. Qt Framework and QML is installed using official deb packages from Ubuntu into the directory /usr. Please create a Tetris game clone app using QML. Seems reasonable. So let's see what's happening. Control O doesn't really work, unfortunately, until we get results from the LLM. Usually it takes around 5 minutes for the entire app to be created, which will require the Claude Code asking me for questions, for a large number of questions, I don't know, maybe 40 or something, because it will want to search the /usr directory, see the structure of the current directory, create directories, create files, edit existing files, building using CMake, creating CMake configuration files. So it's going to edit and create a ton of files directories on my system. Okay, so this is the moment of the first interaction at minute 2, where it says that it will create a complete, not a minimal Tetris clone. It's going to use a clean dark theme. Okay, and it usually will not just dump files in the current directory, which I'm not sure if it's a good idea. It actually creates a subdirectory Tetris. Let's accept that. Or maybe it sees that the name of the directory, that's the current directory, is A, not Tetris. Tetris core.js, the game engine. Okay, so this time it's actually maybe not using C++ as much. It's fine by me. Usually in the KDE community, most backend code is written in C++ for QML apps, and just the front end is QML. So files with extension.qml. Okay, so it says that it has already created a directory named Tetris, and in there there's the initial version of the backend. I don't really know the JavaScript programming language. Okay, Tetris QML for the front end. And then what is it doing? It will maybe not create a CMake file and build that and run that, which it did previously. In my previous attempt, it created an application that was front-end in files with extensions QML, back-end in files with extensions .cpp and .h. Glued together in a CMake project. It asked me to allow it to run CMake build, and then it actually started the Tetris executable file, but with a no op, I know, X11 backend or something. So it didn't actually display the UI of the application while Claude Code was running various tests, but it did look at the standard output of the application for maybe QML errors and other cute errors written to the standard output or standard error. But this time it seems to want to create a QML only app with JavaScript, which maybe doesn't require C++ at all, which maybe doesn't require CMake at all, doesn't require building or installing at all. And maybe it wants to run the app using the QML executable, or maybe QML scene or something similar. It guesses that there's an apt command line, and there's a q6-qml package. Let's see what it does. For the current session, we could allow it to do to temporarily run commands without me accepting them. So to allow a larger range of commands, which let's do. Okay, let's see what it wants to do. So it wants to run a bash script, as it were, where it found that the name of the executable is probably not QML but QML. It's going to run tetris.qml, which is then going to load tetriscore.js. And then it's going to kill all processes with name QML, which you actually do with kill all, not with kill. Okay. It will run this command maybe a ton of times, so I'm going to approve also for the future. So if you want to pre-approve actions for Claude Code, the safer bet is always to create a temporary virtual machine, install Ubuntu 26.04 in there, install Claude Code, make it connect to DeepSeek online LLMs, and in there allow Claude Code to do more actions, which might be maybe problematic on your main computer. I'm not exactly sure what would be such a problematic thing. Maybe it can mess up with files in your home directory such that important configurations for apps that you use will stop working correctly. Maybe you'll need to recreate all of the files in your home directory. Or maybe it will, I don't know, install the packages that you don't want. The safer bet is to always approve each of the actions that Claude Code wants to perform. Let's see what it does now. Qt chooser, Qt bin. Debug the Qt installation. CMake. I don't know what it wanted to do. More bash commands. Which QML? Okay, so it still wants to get at the point where it can launch the app, so it can see if the app has build errors, but using only QML, there's no build errors, there's no build step. It wants probably to configure to run the app, and the app should write all errors and warnings to the command line, and then it will increment, it will fix one by one all of the errors at standard output or standard error. So it wants to enter inside a development loop where it changes something, runs, looks at the errors generated, fixes an error, runs again, etc. Find Qt chooser for what? So right now it's guessing how Qt was packaged for Debian. Apt cache search. Well, apt cache is something that you don't really need to use since, I don't know, 3 years ago. Apt search is good enough. And now it wants to actually install packages on my computer, which is, why would you do that? Are you sure I don't have the QML app? It's in there. So why do you want to install this thing, QML scene? I'm not even sure if such a package exists. QML scene Qt 6. The QML scene viewer. I can already see it in here. Isn't it the one? Let me install this package myself. Okay. Do you want to proceed? Yes. So this is the very first scary command line that I can see it has tried to run. It has tried to install a deb package from the Ubuntu repositories. Okay, at this point it's creating a CMake file with C++, main.cpp. Seems reasonable. Do you want to create yes? Okay, so this is a launcher, a world builder, a main entry point, tetris.qml, organization name, Claude. Okay, do you want to create yes? It wants to find the C++ toolchain and CMake. It wants to use CMake with out of 3 builds, so the subdirectory build, which is a good idea. The name of the directory build is kind of generic, but that's what most CMake tutorials suggest. Okay, so what does it try to do? So it sees an issue, a bug, and then it tries to fix it. Inline QML components are instantiated as QML elements, not functions. Okay, my knowledge of the Qt framework and QML is extremely limited. Do you want to make this edit? Go ahead. Which has implications inside the QML code. It wants to run CMake configure step. What did it find? A formatting style issue. Okay, so it's inside the build directory. Hopefully it tries to run CMake configure again. If you don't really know the technology, the tech stack, in this case Qt framework, CMake, QML, then yes, it's a simpler bet to just create a virtual machine, install everything there, and let Claude Code create the application with zero interaction from the user, from yourself. You wouldn't really know what to answer to the Claude Code questions anyway. Do you want to make an edit that does what? Prefix font. Okay. Again, it's trying to lint QML files. We're at the 5-minute mark, so we're pretty close to the 5-minute limit, which means we're probably close to the end of creating the application. This time it took a bit more because it couldn't really find the QML executable, QML scene executable, etc., which are not really needed, maybe, if you just are driving the app from CMake and C++. So it wants to what? To delete some comments. Linting again. It was in the wrong directory. And says that no QML syntax errors. And at this point, it would be a good idea to run CMake to build the executable Tetris. Okay. It will want to run some iterations where it starts the app, looks at it, and then kills it, which is what this script is. Says QtQPA platform off screen, so it's probably run using the X11, but off screen. It's a good idea. It's how it always does it. This is how we did it in the previous time I have tried. Do you want to proceed? Yes. Cannot assign to non-existent property letter spacing. Yeah, so QML is a special programming language in the sense that at compile time, there's a few number of issues that are caught, but then at runtime, at load time, there might be even, I don't know, missing symbols, identifiers with the wrong name. Everything can happen at runtime when you run a QML app. Okay, so build and run. It's in a build, run, and then look at the standard output loop. Type error. Anchor warnings and an error. Guard for the board initialization. Let's do it. We're past 7 minutes. So again, this is the default model, the one that has the moderate price from DeepSeek. There's the reasoning one, which is probably superior both in capabilities and price. So if you didn't use this experience before, this rectangle is the built-in terminal inside Visual Studio Code. And this rectangle is the current file that Visual Studio Code, that Claude Code is either editing or creating. So you can see a preview of what's it going to do with differences, or if a totally new file is created, it's going to show it. If I know, if you ask Claude Code to create an SVG file, then the graphical, the human readable version of the SVG, the image, will be actually shown in this up rectangle of Visual Studio Code. So for instance, right now it says that it wants to modify Tetris.qml file. This is the before version, this rectangle, and this is the after version. If you have more pixels on your screen, then this experience will be way better. So what I want here is to let Claude Code do whatever it wants, except the things that I think might be problematic, because we're on an important computer. We're not in a throwaway virtual machine. It wants to build. It wants to run. It's going to look at the errors written at standard output, standard error. It wants to kill it again. The Tetris app at least builds and runs cleanly. Okay, and then it tries the next server, which is called xvfb-run, xdpy info. So maybe it ignored the GUI because it used Qt QPA offline rendering, but maybe right now it wants to actually also look at the generated GUI, graphical user interface. Display 10. So it says there's a display 10. Let me run the app and grab a screenshot. Okay. Run Tetris with real display and take a screenshot. So it has created a temporary X server with a temporary, I don't know, window manager or something. I can actually see everything, and then it tries to create a screenshot. Convert, which is part of image magic. So it has created a file /tmp/tetris underscore screenshot.png, where it will decide that the app is should be moved to the right a bit to make everything visible. And this text is not put in the correct place. So there's rendering at wrong positions on the screen. Okay, and that's it. It stopped. So it thinks that it's done. Let's ask it to create 2 bash script files, one for running, build.sh, which rebuilds the app. I don't know the command line invocation to actually build the app. So it's using cmake something, but I don't know what. It wants to make it executable, which I don't really care for. Okay, and I want another bash script file that runs the app. Create bash script file that runs the app named run.sh. Where did it put them? In the directory Tetris. Okay, before doing absolutely anything, I'm going to put the application under version control. So let's see how we do that. Create a new terminal. Git GUI, not git init here. Okay, so what's happening here? There's a ton of not needed files, which is the build directory. So let's switch back. Create top level dot git ignore file that ignores the cmake build directory. Do you want to create the git ignore file? Where did it put it? Not top level, so inside the directory Tetris. Okay. So Tetris git ignore the main cmake file that creates an executable named Tetris from a CPP file named main.cpp. It's using the C++ programming language, cmake at least version 3.20, qt quick controls 2. There's a Tetris core.js file and a tetris.qml file. Main entry point, finds tetris.qml and creates a QQML application engine. And then does exec. The run.sh changes to the build directory and then runs the executable /tetris. Build, hopefully changes to the build directory, runs cmake dot and then cmake minus build dot, and then that's it, with plenty of comments. Main QML file, top level window, which is a QQC2. So this guy, Qt quick controls, not a rectangle. Initial width and height for the window. A timer. Keyboard key actions, etc., etc. Game logic, boards, shapes, and in the top level .clode/settings.local.json, so no, not in the directory that's per my user in my home directory, tilde/.clode, but in the .clode that's inside the current project. It contains all of the commands that I allow Claude Code to run without asking. So I don't really want to put under version control this very personal file. Initial commit. Let's look at the history. Repository visualize all branch history. It looks okay. Okay, and now let's try to run this thing. See how we do that. Bash Tetris and then build. and then bash tetris/run.sh. Okay, seems very similar to the way it has created the app the previous time. Okay, so there are some offsets issues. The initial size of the app is not wide enough. The down arrow key does work, soft drop. Hard drop with space. How do we do this? There's a preview. So the app seems to work. There's a score level, probably increasing difficulty. Pause with the letter P. So the glitch is the fact that this text is not in the not shown correctly in the group box, in the sense that the group box should be taller. Okay, and then when I have run this procedure previously to just install Claude Code with the DeepSeek LLMs and ask it to create a Tetris clone, sometimes it implemented additional features, such as the feature of you had the right to ignore one piece. So if you didn't have any use for these three piece, then you could skip over it. So there was an area where you could stash just one piece and then continue with the next. And then that's about it. I didn't ask for high scores. I'm not sure if that was implemented. There's restart, resume buttons. You can use the keyboard. Moving was previously kind of the same. So arrow keys left, right, up rotate, and down soft drop, which advances downwards a bit. Space to finish dropping. P to pause, R to restart. So I totally like the application. I think the features of the default model from DeepSeek is enough for my usage, and in my experience is really similar to the offerings from Anthropic. I know it seems similar to the capabilities of Sonnet 4.6. It did build a correct application. It did try to enter inside loops, so a loop for building, for configuring, semi-configure, where it found various QML issues, and then a loop for building where it found other issues that it fixed, then a loop for running the application but in a headless mode, and then a loop for running the application in X11 mode where it controlled even the X server. So it's enough for my usage, seems to be on par with the models from Anthropic, and the cost is incredibly small. Let's actually look at the costs. So /usage. It says that it has used 9 minutes. DeepSeek chat 115k tokens. 50K output, which is a really small number. And then it says that maybe if you use Anthropic models, maybe if you use Anthropic Sonnet, the cost maybe is $4, which in my opinion, it's way too much. But then let's look at the actual usage inside DeepSeek. .0704, so that's today. It says for 5 million tokens, 4.8 million tokens input, and 115 tokens input cache miss. Wow. Okay, and the total cost, if I'm reading everything correctly, and if this web app is up to date, I can see in here a cost of 0.0.4, and it's all from the model that I wanted, which is DeepSeek minus V4 minus Flash. So without any Reasoner or Pro. So that's 4 US cents, US dollar cents. Compared to this number that we see here, where it's $4. So exactly 100 times price reduction. So this is it. This is how to install Claude Code, which is a text user interface application that knows how to create files, program, install packages, debug any kind of issues with the online large language model from DeepSeek, which is a Chinese company, not using the default models from Anthropic, which is the maker of the Claude Code text user interface application. And the costs are really, really okay for my usage. So this is it. Thank you.